Yeah. So I'm going to be taking the citation now. Um, Alhaji Salawu is a Nigerian literary scholar, poet, and editor. He is the author of Preface for Living Homeland, published under African Poetry Book Fund, and most recently, Contraband Buddies. He's known for his work exploring themes of post-colonialism, migration, identity, and Afro-Canadian diaspora. He's currently the editor of Olongo Africa. So the second person I have on this panel is Adedayo Agarawu, although we haven't met been in the same space before, but he's someone who I've always like admired from afar, you know. Yeah, and you can just tell, his journey and where he is now, really inspiring, human. So I'm going to be taking his profile now. Adedayo Agarawu is the author of three poetry chapbooks for boys who went, The Arrival of Rain, The Origin of Name, published by APBF, and a full length. His debut collection, The Years of Blood, won the Poetic Justice Institute Editors Prize for BIPOC writers. He is a 2025 Wallace Stegner Fellow, a Keith Cannon Fellow, and a 2024 Lee Rosenberg Fellowship finalist. He's the editor-in-chief of Agbo War magazine and a poetry reviews editor for The Rumpus. Is yeah. So I think that's it. Hello Olajide and hello Adidayo. Thank you guys for joining me today on this session of the festival. So that said, I would like you to help us with some poems from your collection. Yeah, probably like two or three. Yeah, I think two will do. Yeah, thank you.
That dial starting, I think. Right?
I'm happy to start. Yes,
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
thank you. Um, hello everyone. It's a big honor to be here and to be reading this book about the Badon. At the Badon Book and Art Festival is so surreal. So it's so important to my journey, to my story, and I'm so grateful to Sevio and the team for the invite. And I'm so honored also to be reading with Olajide Salau, whose book is literally a bestseller in Edmonton right now. So yeah, I'd open with Bamishe, a poem that I wrote about Bamishe, who was kidnapped and then was later found dead in Lagos, and that actually like introduces you to the entire book. I am writing about ritual kidnappings in Nigeria and ritualism and forced disappearance, the forceful taking of people from their families, from their loved ones. And yeah, so yes, and this did not start today, it didn't start yesterday. So hence the title, The Years of Blood. Bamishe. It opens with a preface. Bamishe, Oluwabamiche Toyosi Ayan Wole was a young Nigerian woman who was abducted after boarding a BRT in Lagos, Nigeria, and found dead 9 days later. Linda Ikeji. The hand salting the sea bring brass into the night. The fervor of light we must carry to be found wanting. The pound of flesh, the latitude of need, whose hands are these that house these yearnings? Who spits against the wall? What song must the body mime to survive the treacheries of ritual? Tonight, an uncouth dog is barking in the dark. Half of a tongue dips in fear, a body palpitating in the bus where the shadow, a plenitude of empty seats, one woman and two other men. What we do not know is what labyrinths we must map to walk through bones. to wake in a city grappling with the scores of children snatched from their mothers' backs. At the climax of dusk, our body is learning to singe with blade. It is slowly charring as she is made to sit over a pot of her own blood. A breath exists the gate of her body before the body tears through the wooden doors, where retribution has seized by a grapnel. In the soft light of dawn, there's a man pouring incantations over her lifeless body, another slicing her breasts into a bowl. What prayer she must have screamed, what inches of nail in the palm of her God. We heard the scream, but the aftermath of her silence. Yeah, thank you. I'll follow up with the last poem in the collection, which is titled Litany, in which my father returns home safely at night. Withered and silent, the trees on the street shrink. Everything else is hidden in the light at night. A small decibel of music escaping someone's window. I wonder what they are hiding in music. What version of orgasm has the body found in an atmosphere of surrender? My sister's doll sits on one of the single couches. A red ribbon longs from under the stool. Outside, a dog barks, but we do not know if it's truly a dog. The night so dark, the lanterns scream. So we hear mourners as they spread their mouths like wings, something broken like twig in their throats. My mother, gathering my brother's hair in her hand, says, Olúwa ló mọ ọmọ tán tún ti jí gbé lọ báyìí o. Àbí ta ló kú? Ta ló rùn? Àti ẹ̀ mọ̀ gan báyìí. My father sounds us in higher sky. He is home, alive. My sister rose from the long brown apoche couch onto the raffia. My mother lays my brother. They all go to sleep. We all go to sleep. Thank you. Lighten, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much for that beautiful reading, Adidaya. It was a nice one, and I think we'd also like to take some from Olajide as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the beautiful recitation, Dio. Yeah, so privileged to be in this panel with you, of course, always, and everyone that is here. Yeah, can see some familiar faces. So I'm going to read the first poem in my book, Contraband Bodies, and I'm going to read another one on one of my trips to America. So the title of the poem I'll read is Sea Stories, which is the first poem in Contraband Bodies. I have no stomach to keep sea stories. 10,000 boys are crossing the black Atlantic without life jackets. In Tirol, Sumer, hundreds are wading through the butane high of the Mediterranean, flailing in the brine. I confess there is no hierarchy of those rushing out of a country's flame, hiding under the tent cities, waiting for the next blue boats, and those making fancy claims of gratified documents, airborne dreams, visa tracks against the force of night, breakaway planets, rebellious stars, turbulent clouds, and wayward wind. Purgation is learning the slant geometry, the delicate curve of your country, and demanding holiness from a land that has always named you a fungible thing. It is mortal then to dream of return, to surrender to the blights of the road, but not to the Pyrrhic promise of this land. So another poem I would like to take is Moccasin Road, Moccasin Road is in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and it's a road that's quite popular, you know. Moccasin Road. In Fayetteville's colony of dusk, my feet fall deeper into a steep, a gulf deeper than the base of a galley. Sometimes I let out a small cry, a yelp for a home far away across the sea, for a return yet unknown. Today at the morgue, the city's sirens keep the God in me constantly awake, and the brown-feathered birds return as ghosts, their necks strained by the rabid hurricane of September. Here is what I know about ample neon lights of memory, fast lane of shame and captive ghost of past. That Moccasin Road did not begin as an asphalt tug made of simple gravel. In the beginning, American gods say, let there be a cotton field and a million black bodies. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that good reading. Well, actually, that was a really fantastic one. And just like it was some 6, 7 years ago, um, seeing and hearing you read from your chapbook, Preface for Living Homeland, and I think it's just like a full circle moment. Yeah, and I really enjoyed this one as well. Thank you for that. Yeah, so that brings us to some of the panel questions, which I would want, us to, attend to. The first one I have to do with like memory, and I think beyond the whole idea of trying to like recall like a past event, I used to, or to think in the direction of like Victor Villanova, who sees memory as like a rhetorical material, you know I'm thinking of the idea of and the possibilities for memory, to write memory or to write towards memory isn't just to recall something that is in the past, but to also reveal. It could be justice. It could also mean to rewrite, to repossess, to reclaim, or even to resist. You know, so I'm just curious. If any amongst all of this, idea of memory, provided direction towards the writing, or if not, what's like the idea, what do you think of memory and how did you approach it while writing these books?
Dayo, do you
Uh,
want to take the lead? Yes.
as my older brother, I can always jump in so that you come after. First off, I would like to ground something that I actually like wrote this collection, and Olajide was actively involved in the editing of this book, so I'm really grateful for him. Also, this is why it also means so much to me that I'm actually like having this conversation with him. I think that nothing really exists outside of memory, whether it's actually like informed, whether it's something that you're like, conversant of, whether it's something that you're aware of, the body always remembers. And it is in that place of remembrance that the poems come from. The poems usually, I think, or would argue, come from this subconscious that sometimes are not we are not aware of, but the body is aware of. They're sort of like the conversations that happens internally within ourselves. And I actually wrote the first poem in this book on my flight from Nigeria to the US. Now imagine that I lived 20 something years of my life in Nigeria, and I didn't think to write these poems. What I was doing in For Boys Who Went, for some reason, was an uninformed first attempt at this book. I would argue now, because looking back at that, it seemed like I was writing something that was leaning towards this, but I wasn't sure what that was yet. So I didn't remember that this happened in my childhood, or I just didn't acknowledge that it happened until I got on the flight, where it felt like safety, where it felt like, oh, I'm away from Nigeria. So I think that description actually gives a short overview of what memory does and how it has informed the years of blood.
Yeah. Interesting, interesting. And I think I like the part where you said that nothing actually exists out of memory. That's a much more insightful take about memory. So, yeah, Mr. Olajide, yeah, I think we'd like to hear from him as well.
Yes, I mean that's good, and really important point that Dio has noted for us concerning memory because we are all, indebted to, I think it was one of my works that appeared in Agbo, like that nothing, it's just like what Dio said that um that's the only thing we are indebted to, and and we rely on the, whether we are talking about past memory, you understand that, or we are talking about the present one we are experiencing, or the one we are creating ourselves. Because as individuals, we are also creating memories, right? Something that some people later on will we have to talk about, right? Whether it's good one, ugly one, or the bad one, right? But in my work, right, it's really a kind of tool that I usually, use, whether in terms of how I want my language to strike the audience or the readers, or whether in terms of event I'm paying attention to, that this is the event I'm paying attention to, or whether I'm, weaving something imaginatively or something outside the box, right? So I would say memory is quite important. It's the strength of creativity, right? And we would see that when we read some great literature that some of us, I believe we are all students of literature here, we would see that even though some event or plot or narratives that we find in them, they might not necessarily be something, that has happened. But for creating such a thing, because memory is not about something that actually, I would say it's not about something that, has actually happened or something. It's also a kind of
Uh,
vision, right? Some kind of can you mute
uh, oh, am I unmuted? I'm so sorry. Sorry.
oh
Sorry.
yes, yeah, I'm muted. So yeah, it's something that we when we are trying to read literature that is not, uh, outside our culture or society, let's say Nigeria, we are also, entering a kind of terrain of memory that we want to learn from, right? Terrain of history, right? That we want to learn from. Let's say Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, right? We are thinking about Russia now, and we are learning from what
Mhm.
that guy is passing through as a man. So, right. So, we are all, indebted to this kind of history, memory when we are writing and when we are reading as well. So it's kind of quite important, device uh, in literature, like quite central to, uh, yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really interesting one, the way you were able to send that memory to literature. Well, I used to be a student of literature, but I think I'm much more into rhetoric now. And of course, memory is one of the five canons of, rhetoric as well. So, yeah, I think we all, on that part of like memory being central to like, humanity, is something that I really do buy into. So, that said, I think that brings me to the second question, which has to do with like the intersection of positionality, um, the material we are drawing from, which is memory in this case, you know, either personal or public memory, and then the production, you know. So, because as writers, not only are we writing something about experiences, um, or should I say, are we reporters or witnesses to the experiences? We are also like, should I say, like survivors? You get, and I think that really played out in Adedayo's book, and the book is something that, when you go through, I remember like cases of, because I grew up like in Agege, that's where I was born, and there were always cases of like somebody disappearing, and so it's a really, point of like contact for me with like a past that I never even imagined, was there. So yeah, my question then is, as writers, are we always fully aware of like the different positions, you know, that we might uh, occupy within the narratives that we are expressing, and how does that affect the production, of the writing?
Okay, let me just begin that, and then maybe Dai wants to add also his thoughts. I mean, that's a very difficult one, but it is also something I keep, at the back of my mind. I can't say my answer will be accurate, right? So, but positionality is something that, as a writer, you have to be self-aware, right? There's no, I would say, as individuals, all of us, some people describe themselves as people who sit on the fence, right? You choose to sit on the fence when something is happening down there, right? Some people choose side. I want to be on the right. Some people choose left. Even people who choose middle, they have their leaning, right? They have where they lean, right? So there's no neutrality anywhere. We are just being, if you are saying you are neutral, you're also being political, right? Deep down, when you take a kind of the introspection, you will know that you have a particular place where you lean towards, right? But for political correctness, we might say, oh, I don't choose a side. I want to be in the middle. I don't want to be, I want to be neutral. So positionality is quite important when as we are writing, and I have been trying as much as possible to be conscious, to be ethical in the kind of world I create, or through my work, right, through my poetry, or the kind of issue I comment on through my work, right. I would say I have my kind of writing or my kind of principle could be said to be not something that some people say, oh, I see poetry as a kind of tool of change, and that's why I would say that my writing is a bit, it's I'm concerned with the aesthetics and forms and all sorts of things in poetry, but I'm also concerned with a poetry that's a kind of poem that's responsible. I don't want irresponsible poems. When I read, I can read poems that that are good. The language is good, and the lines are striking. But I will ask myself, so what are you trying to say at the end of the day? What's your
hello?
What are you concerned about? I'm so much, I'm a person like that. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate art for art's sake, or poems that just appreciate nature or cheer or whatever you want to write about. But I want to, because there is this poem, I have forgotten the name of the writer now. It's quite striking, published in Poetry Foundation, about for colonizers, my people are dying. We can write about flowers or something like that. So I can't
Okay,
remember.
that's Nur Indi's poem.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
no something.
Nur,
Yeah.
Nur Indi.
No.
Yeah.
So Nigeria is a place that traumatizes, that it's not all bad about our country. I would say that there are good things about Nigeria, good memories, right? And I have people back home. My parents are back home, my sister and siblings, right? We have so many things that we can say about. But if you are a Nigerian from a kind of humble background I have come from, and then you are into daily survivor, something like that, and you have chosen writing as a kind of profession or something, you are lucky to be a writer. Let's just say that, because I count myself lucky to be someone who can write. You can't decide that you want to be thinking, writing about the beauty of the ocean, and when you can wake up the next day and the police is harassing you, or you can wake up the next day to inflation that you can't unbearable, So there's a kind of that weight on you, and that's why I would say my writing has been influenced by that kind of idea that when I read poems that are irresponsible. I'm not saying that people don't write irresponsible poems can be good with language, can be no well, but I would just say I would be asking what's because I'm coming from a position, I'm coming from a reality, I'm coming from a history that cannot ignore plight of people downtrodden, right? So I will stop there.
All right, yeah. Looks like you have like a lot to say, and I really want to listen to that a lot. But yeah, let's hear it from Madidayo. Thank you.
Lajide has already said so many important things, and I don't think I should actually dwell so much on it. But the title of my book is The Years of Blood, and yeah, and unlike Olajide, I'm not a professor yet in some way, so I am allowed to actually say whatever it is that I want to say. And if you follow my Twitter, in fact, I've been banned now. That actually sort of like in some way establishes my position about and the way that politics actually works in my work. But outside of that, I think that it's just important to actually have that the poem actually works as the mirror and the mediator, and in some way, most of the time when we are writing, we never really go into the work knowing that, oh, this is how I want to sound, or this is how I want to position myself as a voice. The poem actually reveals itself. So, and the poem revealing itself is actually like a product of what we have inside us, all of our spies, our anger, our yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. Uncle Jide has knocked it off the park.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So I just took like a few seconds to post the book link to Olajide Salau's Contraband Bodies. So I'll do that in the next few minutes to do that with that of Adedayo's Years of Blood. So if you're interested in getting any of these books, which I think you should, yeah. So yeah, you'd get the link in the chat. So, that said, we are not to have much time, so I guess this might probably be my last question. And I think for this last one, I think I want it to be much more reflective and then much more inward, Yeah, who is the what is the writing without a poet, as a matter of fact, and especially when you're writing from a place of, memory, or from the position of like a survivor, so yeah, there's just so much more important the need to prioritize agency, So yeah, which brings me to the fact that as poets, I know that we're okay, I think I'm just going to talk about like the clinical consequences of like writing memory. All right. So this is something writers have spoken about, often, which has to do with like the clinical impact of like writing, from or with or about memory. And one example is Chimamanda, who on writing about Biafra, talking about like the impact of like the writing on like the mental health. And I think I also read like one um the Guardian publication which featured Watson Shear and Bernardo Evaristo, talking about writing about public memory, personal memory, and the impact of like these narratives on like the passing, or the writer. So I am actually not trying to, I'm curious, if this is something you relate to, as writers, and if yes, I'm just interested in also knowing how you navigate, you know, it. Yeah.
Um, I'm just gonna kill it off. So I think that really, it's not the writing that actually wounds you. What the writing does is actually like reopens the wound, and the hurt that you find while writing is like when you actually go back to an old wound and you're dabbing it and you're poking it because you're trying to like ask it questions, you're trying to like make it talk. Um uh, so I don't think that writing in itself, but yes, to answer your question directly, I do definitely relate to this. I really do. Can you hear me? Yeah, so I do relate to it. I mean, I had like my own fair share of my experience writing The Years of Blood. Years after I have had my own kidnapping situation, years after I've left the US, I was dreaming about the boys that I was writing about. So it's like you revisiting an old wound and then you actually like, fleshing it out, putting the grapnel, putting the knife, trying to like, remove where it most hurts you. So, but I also think that in some way, especially for us Nigerians who have zero access to therapy or medications, and then there's usually like the discrimination against, mental illness. I think that writing poetry, or generally writing actually helps us in some way to actually ask ourselves questions, to answer ourselves now, and then which in some way becomes a mini therapy for us, So it's kind of like gives structure to our very chaotic lives, so yeah, I do genuinely understand where the question is coming from. Yes, and I relate to it, and I understand all of Washansha and Chimamande's essays. And if anybody wants to like learn more, Dami Ajayi actually works in
Mhm.
therapy and psychology, and he literally has devoted his life to that work. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I think before we take Salah Olajide's response, I think I would like to call attention to, like, I already dropped like the link to Adedayo Agara's The Years of Blood, so you can always like get it via the link. Thank you. Yeah. All right, Mayoga, up to you, sir.
Yes, sir. So, apology. After I, say my mind now, I'm going to run away because my students are waiting in class for me. I'm so sorry. So, but what I can say is just to buttress Dial's point. I believe poetry is not equal to the medications or equal to you visiting a psychiatrist. It is not. It is not really. And am I answering the question? Well, like that's the so I would say but it has a role to play in healing because it is opening up a conversation, and it might be difficult. The idea of not being able to have a conversation is traumatic itself. You know, talking about a thing that you feel hurt about is a way of, processing, healing, or thinking about, how you can access some kind of better something, right? So but in my work, let me just move to contraband bodies now, right? It comes from, I have described it as personal records. Personal records, uh, that description doesn't mean that I didn't talk about other migrants in that. But I'm trying to tie my private experience and private individual as a person, that of my family, and general experience of migration, Black mobility globally today, right? And what you might likely to get if you are a Black migrant on the move at the port or at the border of Europe or the West in general. So I would just say, like, I get your question, and I think we can just be thinking about this question. I wouldn't say that you will have the ultimate answer from me or something like that, but the conversation is okay, and it's good for us to keep reflecting on in that way. Thank you so much. Yes.
All right.
If you have
Yeah.
any question for me, sorry, you can just send it to me at jm.salahu will
Mhm.
be able to respond to you. I have to run now. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right. All right. So I think I'm done with my questions, and then I think I'm going to be giving the people who are viewing or present to partake in this panel if they have any questions for the authors. I think now is the time, so you can just drop it in the charts. Then we look at them, and possibly they get to respond to them. Yeah. Okay. So Salah Olajide already like dropped his email in the comments. So if you feel like you have like personal questions for him, regarding the panel team, I think you can just send that to him. Yeah. So I think yeah, we have a few minutes to take in question. Um, yeah. So let's see what comes up in the next 1 minute. If not, then we might have to like come to the conclusion of the panel. I think we have a question. Okay.
Can you say more about this? I'm not sure I understand the question. And you can unmute your mic. I would like to hear your voice.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to quickly text something so the question is coming. So the meeting does not end in the next 1 minute. So I was like, blood and beauty. Okay, that will get their attention. That's so the idea is personally I work on contemporary literary development. And some of the arguments I make is against like the post-colonial functionality of most works. And now things in the 21st century or writings and pop cultural products are defined that like nobody's trying to write to the West or people are just trying to do their thing. Like you go to like the comedy skits, the social media literature, all of that sort of flexing. So there's a lot of beauty coming up. There's a lot of beauty that is happening. The transmediatic exuberance, as I like to call it, like Afrobeat is flying. So many things are happening. The fashion game is just like AYR. And then there's still ritual killings and kidnappings. And sometimes it's hard to reconcile that. You go on my own Instagram feed, it's a bundle of contradiction. There is 1 minute I'm like popping with like this new song everyone is vibing to. It's the best in the world. The next post is about someone saying that, oh, please, someone is missing. We're trying to find this person. So I would like for Olajide I just spoken to responsible poetry, and I'm considering what your position is at the dial on that contradiction of blood and beauty happening at the same time in the country.
Yeah. So I think the best way to explain this is that part of the reason why I wrote The Years of Blood, or part of the reason why I eventually submitted it, I was sure that I wanted this work to go out, was because we are such a people who do not know how to remember. We also do not know how to mourn. We need collective therapy in Nigeria. Like they need to put all of us in one room and say, oh yeah, how has this country traumatized you? And it's usually very funny because we actually, like, in the same vein, on Twitter, on X, you see that they're like, this person has been kidnapped, and then there's like 1 million likes. There's 1 million, oh, please help us, please share as wide as possible. And then at the end of the night, we've not heard anything. You already see like this same set of people already arguing about who's better between Davido and Wizkid. Something funny that I saw was that somebody whose brother was kidnapped retweeted a Davido concert coming up, and so I think that we need a sense of awakening and a sense of collective memory, a sense of national memory that actually like that demands us to actually mourn, like mourn as in mourn. We don't know how to. It seems like we've lived years like suppressed under the compulsive need to actually always celebrate something, look for something else to actually like make us feel better. We were called the happiest people on earth for the fact that we have the happiest lives. It's because we never know how to actually even like point out where the shoe is eating our feet. So I think that it's actually such a crazy irony that all of these things actually exist. We literally, like a couple of days ago, we literally had a military scare, and the military literally was coming out to actually like say, oh, it's false news. However, um, internal people actually like already fed the what's it called, the media with the actual news, with the way it happened. And from that, with like actual crisis, certain people actually like being killed in the country, but the country is literally saying that, oh no, this is not happening. As we live here, we know that this thing has happened in the past. It's currently still happening. Every single day, the government actually comes and say, oh, it's we yeah, everything is great. This is the. However, the world, the IMF actually literally just said that Nigeria is really, really, really poor, and they keep giving us money. Like this, yeah, yeah. We need to cap it. We need to actually learn to grief. We need to
Yeah,
learn to stay with our grief. Yes.
I think that's something that I really do buy, into the idea of like collective therapy. I think it's really, really necessary. And I think thank you for that one. And I think on this note, I'll be closing, the panel. Thank you so much, Adedayo, and thank you so much, Olajide, and everyone who's taking their time to show up for this panel. And see you in the next one. Yeah, bye.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Olaiton, for this powerful session. Thanks to Mr. Suswedi. I can see everyone. Thanks to Mr. Fumini Yakinradi. Thanks to Mr. Karu. Thanks to Abdulhamid Shoyebo. Thanks to everyone who has joined this this panel session. Apparently, this is the last official panel session for the virtual sessions of Ibadan Book and Arts Festival. We will continue tomorrow morning again, 9 a.m. For everyone or anyone who is out of town. Mr. Fumini, thank you very much. I can see you. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be expecting you. I'll be expecting to see your face. So for the likes of Mr. Adedayo and Mr. Olajide, please can also tell your friends from outside the country that it's going to be on our YouTube channel. We're going to be streaming live also. So it's going to be, we anticipate that it's going to be a fantastic outing tomorrow. And this is me officially wrapping up tonight's session. It's been an amazing journey from 10 a.m. To looking at the different panel sessions and looking at the levels of intellectual conversations that we've had. I mean, it's been amazing. Special thanks to everyone who joined in again. And yes, we'll see you tomorrow. And bye for now. Bye.
Hello, Kayode.
Yes, sir.
You did not regard me now.
you be my G now.
Oh yeah,
All right,
Dabo.
bye.
Yeah, bye.